I have been a cheeky asshole lately. I have been not very kind to myself or people around me, and I am trying to be a better person. I think that in my own development and being honest with myself and not staring directly at the camera, but like working through this is different levels of consciousness, integral theory, what I work with every day to gain a better understanding of myself, my decision making, and I find it really useful. Scrolling down to the very bottom here of being impulsive, right? That I'm trying to avoid pain, I'm trying to avoid danger. I feel very unsafe at times in this world, and going out into the world, it absolutely terrifies me. Thinking the way that I think and potentially running into people who don't like me or don't believe what I believe or might seek to harm me because I'm a perceived outsider within a group dynamic. So, I've become an opportunist that my needs rule my impulses. I become egocentric. I focus on myself, my self interest, my self protection, and finding others as means to an end, not seeing people with their own desires or their own insecurities, and not being able to relate to you and your pain because I'm so wrapped up in my pain that when I want to express love, but in my entire life I've been so full of hatred that it drove me to a sense of a will to power. And instead of taking time to express my love of power, I remove that sense of hatred through forgiveness and forgiving myself for making the decisions that I've made and and following the rules that are out here and engaging in socially acceptable behavior, finding value in performing for other people within my community and showing up the way that people need me to show up. Uh, at times, I'll operate in ways that are abstract, and I focus on the effectiveness and the efficiency of my craft expertise. That, like, there's a correct way of doing things, and I discover, like, my own personhood through self development and finding what I'm good at and how to best express my skills to the world that allows for the greatest development of humanity and to be the most value to life that I can. And how effective my system is, like, I'll run into problems in terms of outreach with my systems that I don't know exactly how I'm supposed to connect with people through this. I keep meeting people that I feel as though I can connect with, yet not resonate with, who have completely different values, completely different goals, completely different beliefs. And I can relate with people on their level, but it's hard for me to relate to people on my own level. And we're all working through these different, you know, portions of who we believe we are as a collective, what we think of the system that we're in. Uh, our individual system, our individual mind, and our bodies that we try to keep safe. And I engage with a radical sense of relativism, right? That I am my own atomized person, but I'm also aware of other people's ways of thinking, that I'm believing in my thoughts about someone else's thoughts, that my actions cause pain to the people around me, and I want to limit that sense of pain that I cause as much as possible. And I can get so wrapped up in my ideas and feelings of my own pain and the reminder that I'm causing pain to everyone that I come in contact with, that it makes me hyper aware of my performance in the world at large. And so having these perspectives in relativism and becoming aware of system interrelatedness and being interdependent on people and this particular time period that I'm going through, and trying to integrate all of these different perspectives of who I am, who I believe myself to be, what I believe my family to be, how I expect people to show up and support me, in what ways do I feel entitled, in what ways am I lacking, uh, not only fiscally, but what ways am I lacking spiritually, what am I not seeing, how am I missing out, where do I still have room to grow, and how does my thinking of others' thinking limit me? How does my thinking of the way that other people think help me grow? And all of these ideas, they're just fictional. Like, they're just constantly created. Like, one idea leading to another idea. It might string together some kind of cohesive narrative to where then you're going to believe that your growth is linear. And it's just not. Like, at the times where you've risen to your highest, you're the same person that you are when you're at your lowest. So you can continue to try to build up a reputation or a certain status or a certain level of security outside of yourself. So that way, when you look back at yourself in the mirror, you can still look at all the power that you don't have within yourself. And the way that I do that, and I surround myself with all of these things and all of these people to distract me from the fact that I don't believe in myself at all. I don't believe that there is a narrative to be put together around these archetypal identities that I may or may not embody through time. You know, at times I'm a fool. At times I'm a sage. At times I'm a warrior. At times I'm a lover. At times I'm a son. You know, all these different things and ways that these storylines can play out. I don't see any one of them as particularly more or less valuable than the other. And so when I'm sitting in my chair, or whether I'm laboring on a construction site, or whether I'm a reservationist at a hair salon, or a personal trainer working at a gym, like all of these things are so regular that it doesn't matter which one of these things that I'm doing, they don't add or take away from who I am. And when I think of my evolutionary process as well as how I'm contributing to the whole in like a perspectival awareness, that it's all just nothing. And these are all things that we can believe in and pick up and put down in these egoic identifications throughout the all without identifying with any one thing exclusively. I mean, I can identify with this body that I have. I could identify with this background that I have. I could identify with this SpongeBob poster, right? But at the end of the day, like the entirety of the screen and the video that you're watching me on here, it's all me, right? Everything from whether I'm just talking about all these things or engaging in a moment of silence or picking my nose or whatever it is, none of the value that I could possibly add or take away from this video is there. And so at times where I can I can believe in magical thinking or being extinctive or exploitative to the system around me and egocentric and giving myself a greater sense of self-importance over those that I seek to give love to, and doing that in my search of purpose and a sense of structural authority and stability and feeling a sense of lack of responsibility over my life even when I take up all of these things, right? I feel as though I have so much power and so much responsibility that in chasing my purpose so deeply and not understanding the consequences of evolution and the pain that comes with this sense of growth every day and the ability to express to those I love what I believe about my human development, what I believe about their human development, and to be able to effectively communicate what I believe and why I believe it, and why I believe what I believe so passionately, and to be seen and loved and connected with that I felt so unseen and so unloved that by the time that I try to put myself out there in order to be seen and to be loved, and at an even deeper level, to be rejected as a sense of a test and a purpose as to why I love myself radically even more so, and to continue to evolve and bring my best and be inspiring towards those I love in order for them to become their best self. And the sense that the boxes that I value checking, if I notice that I'm not checking the boxes of other people and other people are not checking the boxes that I want them to check, well, neither of us are wrong for allowing the other to feel a sense of lack or unfulfillment based off of our own expectations of the external world. And with these systems that we trust in, with this sense of interrelatedness, interdependence, and enduring like my core self wounds of lack and disapproval and unworthiness in a world that is so unbelievably painful and violent towards love, right? That it's radical. A lot of the times when you can express yourself as vulnerable and in that time of such great pain and vulnerability to be inflicted harm upon at an even further level, at an even deeper level, it isn't a pleasant experience. And so, in my time of being self protective and opportunistic over my circumstances, lashing out and hurting people that I don't wish to, at the cost of being seen with my pain. And to say that just because you're hurting and you're full of pain and anger and hatred, it makes sense that one would express that. And so to go on the internet and post about people who are harming you and people who aren't showing up the way that you want them to show up, it's a natural experience. And in growth and reflection, that it doesn't really matter what anyone else has going on and how they're not showing up for you, because when you're putting the value of these undesirables or these unmentionables, you come to realize that your attention span is outside of you showing up to be the best version of yourself. And in that process, it can be ugly because it can look incongruent. And a lack of congruency within your self concept can be painful as you try to harmonize with your environment through the cognitive dissonance and just dissonance in general. The fact that we're always seeking to harmonize, to stabilize, to understand our circumstances at the highest capacity possible with the data that we have at hand and our capability of understanding it and understanding ourselves through the coherence of both our heart and our mind. And throughout time, people haven't been able to go through and look at these different states of consciousness and human development and to reflect on all of their pain and all their suffering and what we have to do in order to grow through these processes. And no matter where you're at on this particular chart, in these different ways of psychology, spirituality, what your values and belief systems are, what is your calling, what are your political values, what are your community values, right? How do you look at economics, right? And the sense of marketing and contribution to your society and your family and your love. So that's my soapbox for the day. If you're interested in knowing more, that's great. Thanks for making it this far in the video. And until we meet again, auf Wiedersehen.